Previously on Battlestar Galactica.
Good morning, YouTube. Today we're going on a little different adventure. Today we are visiting one of my favorite recreational areas to visit, and that is the Junkyard. We are after some cheap parts to repair our cars. So I've got a few things on my shopping list for today. First of all, a friend of mine who also has a VR6 Corrado and does not have working air conditioning thinks that his harness, the wiring harness for the AC, has some issues. Now I happen to know that the Junkyard we're going to has a VR6 Passat hanging out at it of the same generation, and I suspect the wiring harness is similar. So I'm going to be seeing if we can snag that for him and get him up to speed with working air conditioning. And hopefully the harness will only be a few dollars for something like that. The other thing we're going to be looking at is I'm going to be measuring the AC condensers from some other similar cars, including the Passat, just to see what possible substitutions there may be to use on a Corrado VR6. I know that the AC condenser is no longer being made by most manufacturers for specific years, and for 92, 93, 94 there are at least 4 different AC condensers that are all slightly different. So I'm going to be looking at ones that are similar size that we might be able to substitute in place. The other thing I'm going to be looking for, one of the most common cars to find at the Junkyard these days is the Mk4 Jetta, and I need some of those stupid little spring-loaded clips that hold the engine cover in place. So I'm going to be looking for some of those. Also, one thing that the R32 did not come with, which would be really handy, is an external power steering cooler. Now, in most circumstances, you're not going to overheat your power steering, but I have noticed after some track sessions that I had been actually boiling over the power steering. So I'm going to be getting into that and seeing if I can find a power steering cooler from a truck that we could put in line with the stock. Well, Volkswagen calls it a power steering cooler. All it is a metal bar that sticks out in front of the radiator core support, and that is supposed to cool off the power steering enough. And during normal driving, it's fine. But if you're in the desert and it's 110 degrees outside and you are racing for 20 minutes, it gets too hot and it boils over and it gets messy. So we want to save our power steering and put in some sort of a cooler, and a lot of trucks come with a power steering cooler. So I'm going to see if I can find one that will just fit in line there and work nicely. And we're also looking for a piece of plastic ducting to go underneath the driver's side on the VR6 Corrado that we can use to duct air to that automatic transmission cooler that we installed this past week. Right now it's just open, it's in there, but I'd like to install a duct. So I'm going to see what we can find that may work down there. So join us as we travel the Junkyard and see what we discover.
20 minutes later.
Well, I am standing inside what was the engine bay of this VR6 Passat. So unfortunately, it looks like somebody has already gotten to it and taken all of the useful bits, the wiring harness. They left everything except the ABS module. So unfortunately for my friend who was looking for the AC wiring, that is not going to happen today. But let's look around and see what else we can find here today. You know, there are certain sections of the Junkyard where it's really easy to recognize what kind of cars these are, and then other times you come across one and you just have to, all right, well, how do I identify this? Let's walk around the back. You know, this is actually a Jetta. It would be really hard to tell from the carnage here, but part of the scavenger hunt fun is looking for the recognizable and seeing what you can scavenge from it. If you've never been to the Junkyard before, one thing to keep in mind is the parts you're looking for may not actually be in the car you're looking at. Like, take for example this Mk4 GTI. Obviously this tire does not belong to this GTI. And also look at this. Go behind here, somebody has tucked in the faceplate of a nice BMW wheel, which does happen to be from a Mk4 GTI, but it is not from this Mk4 GTI. So anyway, somebody hid it in here. You also find pieces from other stuff around here. So if you find a car and you're missing the part, or it doesn't have the part that you're looking for, check the cars around it, because it might have been tucked in there by somebody looking to hide it so that they could come back and get it later.
5 minutes later.
All right, we found a power steering cooler that looks like it's in decent shape and looks like it'll be fairly easy to remove as well, with just very simple hose clamp fittings. Glad I brought those weird hose clamp pliers with me, but that should be able to pop off fairly quickly, and that's great. The other thing I discovered on the same car is this very long fender well liner, which we're looking for something to make an air duct for our transmission cooler, and I think I could probably trim enough out of this to do what we needed to do. So I'll see how much this little piece costs, and if it's cheap, then I'll just snag that and trim it to shape. Found another power steering cooler on this Infiniti, looks like an FX35, and it's smaller. Looks like it might work better on my little Volkswagen, so I'm going to go ahead and unbolt this and snag that one instead of the big massive one that I found earlier. A lot of times, if you look around hard enough at the junkyard at all sorts of weird random vehicles, you'll find exactly what you're looking for, even if it's not on the vehicle you expect it to be on. So I was looking for a duct for my power steering cooler. I'm sorry, not power steering cooler, my automatic transmission cooler, and I found this perfectly shaped to match up with the duct at the front of my front end spoiler. I'll have to remove this little piece here, and I can smooth out some of these little things here to make it a smooth airway, but I can totally trim this and make it work. So this is a great find, and I'm sure it's probably going to be like $5 or $10, so totally worth it. All right, so overall, I'd say we had about a 90% success rate. I found everything that I needed for my cars and my projects. I did not find the wiring harness that I was hoping to find for my friend so that he could get working air conditioning on his car, but you know, that's the way the cookie crumbles when you have an old rare car. It's hard to find these parts. And truth be told, he could find the parts online. It's just a lot cheaper and a lot more convenient if you can find it locally in one of these junkyards where you pick your own parts. You go out and remove them yourself. They are by far the least expensive alternative for finding parts. And for me, since I'm doing some custom work, I'm adding power steering coolers to cars that never had them in the first place, finding a variety of different ones that I could look at and choose from so that I could choose what I was going to use to modify. That's a great opportunity to kind of do the a la carte shopping at a junkyard like this. So anyway, I was successful. I found a duct that'll work great that I can modify, found two power steering coolers. I got them both because they were cheap. They were $15, so that was fine. And I'll figure out which one works best. And with the other one, maybe I'll either pass it on to somebody else to use for their project, or it might come in handy for another project down the road. Who knows? But anyway, very happy with the results today, and I will tune in with you another time when we actually install these things. So God bless. Thanks for tuning in. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I am trying to build up the channel, and I would love it if you would share it. So if you find it even remotely amusing or interesting, please go ahead and share it. Thank you so much. God bless. See you next time.
But wait, there's more.
If you wouldn't mind checking out my Drive Tribe articles that I've written, head on over there. You can search for my name. I've written a few articles about various car experiences. I'd love for people to read my stuff. And of course, if you want to partner with me on Patreon and help sponsor me so that I can keep putting out great content, for many of the videos that we're doing, replacing parts, doing DIY projects, how to do stuff at home, I want to provide that material for you, and hopefully you find it fun and encouraging and inspiring, and at the very least mildly entertaining. But thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you, and I'm going to just leave you with a few more happy Wookiee noises as I accelerate out of here.